too late. Now family, we the ones who gotta delegate. Get that money in the power, never be fake. Stick to cosign for 3. What did he say? Create jobs, support our own. Educate the same and buy back your home. Got 3 degrees, triple 10. 3 PhDs, now we on the CNN. DBTV, let's talk about negligence. Ignorance is bliss, but we can turn it to intelligence. Believe none of what you hear, half of what you see. Let's break it down here on Dr. Boyce TV. Here we are.
And I want to welcome you guys to the Black Financial Channel. This is theblackfinancialchannel.com. If you're interested in financial news and commentary from a Black perspective, make sure you subscribe to theblackfinancialchannel.com. Anyway, I want to say what's up, everybody. I hope you guys are having a good day. I'm going to jump in for a second and discuss something that I just saw. And I think that there's some context that's necessary in this particular topic. It has to do with this thing called white privilege, Now, I'm going to ask you guys a question. How many of you are aware of what happened in the NBA this week with the hiring of head coach Steve Nash, the Brooklyn Nets? Give me a yes or no in the chat if you are aware of the hiring process in terms of what just happened and why people are pissed off. I've been following it. I'm a sports fan. Also over at Ball Sports, Jeff Lightsey Jr. keeps me briefed on what's going on. And basically, here's the deal. Here's what happened. Let me give you guys the breakdown in case you didn't know. There's a white guy named Steve Nash. And Steve Nash is a white guy who has no experience. He was a great point guard in the NBA, great player, but he absolutely positively has no experience. And he was hired as the head coach of the Brooklyn Nets. Now, head coaching jobs are very coveted. Everybody wants to be a head coach. Head coaches make millions of dollars a year. And I guess it's a fun job. I don't know. I guess if you love basketball, which I do, being a head coach is pretty cool. And so basically when Nash got hired as the head coach of the Brooklyn Nets, a lot of brothers, including even Stephen A., surprisingly, right? Stephen A. is not exactly he ain't exactly Malcolm X, but Stephen A. stepped up. Even Stephen A. jumped in and said, this is white privilege. And so I took note of this. I thought it was very interesting. And it led me to really process this and to say, okay, what does that mean? Like, how do we sort of unpack this? And was it white privilege? Sometimes racism is there and we don't see it. Sometimes it isn't there and we do see it. And then sometimes it's just debatable. Right? We live in a racist society. We live in a society that's run by white people. White people run the world pretty much. And I don't know why we never figured that out. I don't know why we ever think that we're going to be treated the same as white people are in a society that's run by them. But hey, that's neither here nor there. Let's jump into the conversation. Do me a favor, hit the thumbs up button, hit the share button, hit the subscribe button. And put your hashtag B1 in the chat. Hashtag B1 means that we're Black first in this platform. Being Black is more important than anything else you could be in this space. So if you're Black first, put hashtag B1 in the chat. So let me break this down real quick. I'm going to go ahead and just kind of give you a quick analysis on this. Here's the deal. Okay, so first of all, if you want my 2 cents, do I think this is white privilege? Hell yes. Let's go ahead and just throw that out there on the table. Is it white privilege? Yes, for sure. No question about it. It's not what you know, it's who you know. Give me a yes or no if you already knew that shit before I even said it. Give me a yes or no if you already knew that being white will provide you with advantages when it comes to getting jobs. Yes or no. Give me a yes or no in the chat if you are a person who, surprise, surprise, was aware that being white actually can give you some economic advantages in this country. Just put yes or no in the chat if you already knew this. Okay, so let's just get that one out the way. We're not going to debate whether this is white privilege or not. Stephen A. Smith had one opinion, Charles Barkley had another. I don't even want to debate that part because I'm going to concede that right now. And so now that we've conceded that, let's talk a little bit about what makes sense. Here's the issue. Now, first of all, Charles Barkley actually made a good point, believe it or not. Charles Barkley said he named 3 or 4 black coaches that got the same benefit. He mentioned Doc Rivers, Jason Kidd, and Derek Fisher. And according to what Barkley said, based on what I read, those are 3 black coaches who also got hired with no experience. So that does create a debate in that space. It does create a debate over whether or not the Nets have the right to hire who they want to hire. But I'm even going to throw that out the window so we can go to the more important argument. Here's the more important argument. Here's the part that I want to get to. Today, later on, today's Friday, September 4th. Later on today on drboystv.com, I'm having a guest on. His name is Ice Cube. Ice Cube is a rapper. He's an actor. He's a businessman. He's an activist. He's doing a lot of great things. Ice Cube is coming through, and Ice Cube owns a league called the Big Three. Now, I don't know how much money Ice Cube has. I don't count other men's money. I don't really care how much money they have per se, but I assume he's not broke. But I also assume that Ice Cube's wealth probably does not exceed the collective wealth of the entire NBA. It does not exceed the collective wealth of all the brothers that are in the NBA. Give me a yes or no if you follow what I'm saying, if you get where I'm going with this. I doubt that Ice Cube has more wealth than all the brothers that are in the NBA right now. LeBron James, Kevin Durant, the Greek Freak. Like, I imagine if you add up all their wealth, it would exceed the wealth of Ice Cube. Now, I'm trying to figure out, how is it that, that Ice Cube can go start his own league with some partners, mind you. I'm sure there's some big money partners in there too. But Ice Cube went and started his own league that's on TV, that's making money. And all these brothers, all these rich, multi-mega millions, like mad money, big dollars, like flossing out the box type guys. How come all these really wealthy guys can't start a league on their own? I'm trying to figure out how much money black men need to have before y'all realize you can actually own some shit and not run around complaining about what white people own. Like, I just need to know. I just need to know. Because when I look at the Big Three, I see a lot of coaches and whatnot who are black. I don't think every coach is black. I think they got a couple of white people in there, right? I'm sure they have an affirmative action program or something, right? They create opportunities for the disadvantaged, right? But I would imagine that in the league that Ice Cube runs, I'm not sure. I can ask him today. I'll ask him today when he comes on the podcast. I would imagine that there is a little bit of what could be called black privilege. Right. So but here's the thing. Here's the thing y'all got to understand. You know, I'm a powernomics guy. And so I want to go beyond race. I want to go beyond the second grader conversations that we were allowed to have in elementary school and really tell y'all how the world really works so that you can get your head out of this pie in the sky fantasy that somehow somebody's going to have you come work for their business and treat you the same as the boss's family. We're going to break out of that. And I'm going to tell you a little something. Here's a little secret you may or may not know. A lot of times what you think of as white privilege, a lot of what you think of as white privilege actually isn't always white privilege. It might be white privilege, but let me tell you what it really is on a deeper level. It is boss privilege. Boss privilege is what you see. Boss privilege says, in my house, you follow my rules. Let me tell you another little secret. If you came in my house and you are working for me, I have people that come in my house that work for me. When they come in my house, you know what they're subjected to? They're subjected to boys privilege. Boys privilege means that I get to sleep in the master bedroom. You don't. So if you come visit my house, you're going to sleep in the basement or the guest room. Boys privilege means that in my house, you're going to follow my rules and do what I say. Boys privilege means that my friends and my family are going to get preference over your friends and your family, no matter what kind no matter how good of a person you are. Boys privilege is going to rule the day. Boys privilege means I get to sleep with the prettiest lady in the house. Her name is Alicia. So in my house, the same way in the white man's house, you're going to have what you think is white privilege, but it's really boss privilege in many cases. Well, in my house, you're going to have boys privilege. So what I think the black man has to really understand is that if you want to make the rules of a house, you got to go buy a house. You can't be a renter and have the same power as the fucking landlord. You're not the landlord. You are the renter. You are the tenant. You are the guest in somebody else's home. And for some reason, perhaps it's not your fault, because you went to school and they taught you how to dribble a basketball and throw a football, and then they taught you how to go work for white people. That's all you know how to do. That's all. That's as far as your brain can go. You're like a basketball player who was only trained to dribble to his right, and you never thought that maybe I can go left, or maybe instead of just shooting layups, I can shoot some free throws and 3-point shots. Right? You're not expanding your game. You're not expanding your game, and as you know, a basketball player who cannot expand his game is usually not gonna win. He's going to be limited in the things he can do on the court. He's only going to be so good. He's only going to have so much control over the process. Michael Jordan became the greatest basketball player, arguably the greatest basketball player in the history of the world. That's debatable because some people say Kareem's numbers are better, or Wilt Chamberlain had a greater impact, or even guys like maybe Jerry West or Oscar Robinson. And you got a whole lot of LeBron James. You can throw a whole lot of people in there that could compete with that. But let's pretend for a moment that at the very least Michael Jordan was in the top three. Well, Michael Jordan used to be a guy who couldn't win a championship. For the first half of his career, Michael Jordan was the guy who was extremely talented, and people felt that he couldn't win a championship. He was sort of like a glorified version of Tracy McGrady. If you're a basketball fan, you know what I'm talking about. Tracy McGrady, another great player, couldn't win a championship, couldn't get over the hump. Michael couldn't get over the hump. Well, the reason Michael couldn't get over the hump, and the reason he was dealing with his own glass ceiling as an athlete, is because his game only expanded so far. He only has so many options that he could use on the court. He would jump and dunk over you. Maybe he knew how to shoot a nice little mid-range jump shot. But his defense wasn't what it needed to be. He wasn't as strong as he needed to be. His shooting range wasn't what it needed to be. He didn't know how to pass the ball as well as he needed to. And you know what Michael did in order to win championships? He started expanding his game. When he realized that there was only so much impact he could have on the game or on the outcome, he started expanding his game. He worked on his jumper. He worked on his defense. He got a strength coach so he could be a stronger player. He learned how to involve his teammates a lot better than he did before. And you know what happened then? He started winning championships. And he didn't just win one. He didn't just win two. He didn't just win three. He won 4, 5, 6 championships, and probably could have won 8 or 9 if he didn't keep on retiring and coming back and retiring and coming back, or if he wasn't playing for management that wanted to break the team up in 1998. That's what you call elevating your game. That's what you call giving yourself options. And the word options is a very powerful word. I mean, in invested in finance, I just taught my students a 6-week masterclass on options and stock options. And we talked about options. But here's the thing. The word options can be applied in a lot of different areas. Options are basically wealth and power. Options are power. When you're in a relationship, I'll just tell you a little secret. Anybody want some Uncle Boyce advice on relationships? If you ever want to have power in a relationship, any relationship, dating, business, or otherwise, just make sure you have plenty of options. When you have options, you win. The person with the most options usually wins because that's the person that can walk away from the table and go find a better deal. So your boyfriend ain't treating you right, ladies, just go get you some options. And I bet you he'll step up to the plate, or I bet you that you'll be okay walking away from the plate. I just want to get just some advice there. In the basketball court, Michael Jordan became a better player because he had more options as an athlete to find a way to win the game. He had multiple ways to find the solution to the problem that was in front of him, which was how do I steal the ball from Karl Malone so I can get it down the court and hit this jumper over Russell so I can win this 6th championship, right? He had more options that allowed him to find more solutions to his problem. Well, the reason that you can't find a solution to white supremacy in many cases, black people, is because you don't have enough options. Owners and bosses have lots of options. People with power, economic power, that know how to use it, have lots of options. People that understand financial literacy, investing, and wealth have lots of options. People like that have many, many ways to skin the cat, a multitude of possibilities that will allow them to achieve the goal of obtaining the power that they seek in that given situation. So when you spend your time complaining about the power that white people have in a white-run organization that was founded by white people, built for white people, that's run by white people, when you find yourselves complaining about that, you have to understand that you really can't complain your way to power. You can't whine your way to authority. You can't just cry long enough and eventually think that eventually you're going to get whatever equality that you seek. You have to create options. So with NBA players, here's what I want to kind of throw out there as a thought process. I know that maybe some people are going to get mad at me because I'm not going along with the whole white supremacy victimization choir. I'm a man. I have testicles attached to my body. I'm a man. I'm not a boy. I'm not a little girl. I'm not going to sit around and whine and cry. In fact, that's an insult to the girls, because I know black women that are stronger than some of you bitch ass, wimpy ass men that run around whining and crying about what another man did to you. So I'm not good at the whining Olympics. I'm not going to do that. But I am a mathematician, and as a mathematician, one of the things we do very well is we solve problems. And one of the things we know about solving problems is that when you give yourself what they call degrees of freedom, there's that word freedom, degrees of freedom, which is another word for saying options. The more options you have, the more you can solve those problems. So I'm going to lay out a little vision for you so you can maybe think about this. Do you know over 100 years ago, a little over 100 years ago, there were some really great athletes who were not black who said, you know, we're tired of what's going on in sports, so we need to create options for ourselves. So let's create a league, and the league would eventually be called the National Football League. Now, these guys who started this league that was probably going to fail, that wasn't much, it wasn't shit back then. They didn't have the money of a LeBron James. They didn't have the money. They didn't have the money of a Kyrie Irving or even the guy at the end of the bench. They didn't even have his money, but they had vision. They had vision, and they had desire, and they had the willingness to sacrifice and delay gratification. They had perspective to say, maybe this thing that we create, this little tiny league, this crappy little piece of shit league that we eventually would be called the NFL. It wasn't called the NFL at first. It was called something else, but they changed the name, right? Maybe there's a way we can make this into something. So one of the teams that was purchased at that time was a team called the Chicago Bears. The Chicago Bears, that family had a vision for seeing their family one day actually having some wealth. So they bought this team called the Chicago Bears in this struggling, crappy shit little league that nobody wanted to be a part of. And they bought the Chicago Bears for $500. $500. Now, if you were to go and do a Google search, which I'm actually about to do right now, I'm going to go and search for the market value of the Chicago Bears. I bet it's more than $500. What do you think? Give me a yes or no if you think that the number's probably going to be a little higher than $500. Like the Chicago Bears, 100 years later, just a couple generations later, is probably going to be worth more than $500. Give me a yes or no. Yeah, the Chicago Bears are worth $3.45 billion. $3.45 billion. So if you were to chop the Chicago Bears and give a little piece out every single day for the entire year, you could give away $100 million in value per year, and it would take an entire year to extract all the value out of the Chicago Bears. $100 million a day for a whole year is how much it would take to chop the Bears up into 365 pieces approximately. So here's the deal. Here's what I'm saying to you. If you don't have vision and you don't have the desire and the ability to make a sacrifice, if you don't have the mindset of a builder, then you will never know what it means to have any power. You just won't. You just won't. So what I'll say is this. Look, at the end of the day, do I think that the Steve Nash hire was white privilege? Hell yeah, it was white privilege. Y'all know what white people do. But here's the thing, white people, sometimes they do things that don't make a lot of sense to me. I'm not an expert in white people. I don't study them that much. But there are some things that they do that I think you need to pay attention to and to understand that it ain't always just because of the color of your skin that they treat you differently. Sometimes it is the color of your vision. It is the limitations of your mindset that cause you to have the inability to go beyond the slave culture and go into the ownership culture, into the boss culture. I can't figure out one single reason why all the most powerful players, former and current NBA players, cannot get together tomorrow and form a damn league. What is the problem? The Negro Leagues were started by people that had probably 1/1000th of the wealth that you have, but at least they own some damn shit. I don't think collectively seem to really understand what it really means to have real power. So again, what you think is white privilege is typically just boss privilege, because at the end of the day, the boss is going to make the rules. In my company, There's always boss privilege. There's voice privilege. There's my privilege, because that's my space. That's my house. So if the black man ever wants to be a king, he needs to understand the white man will never coronate you to be a king. If you want to be a king, you have to learn how to build a castle. And I don't think that this is a foreign message. I don't think that I'm saying something that people don't already inherently understand. I just want to reiterate what's going on and what I'm seeing when the owner of a team decides who the hell he's going to pick to coach that damn team. How many of you in here would expect that if you were the owner of a team, you will be able to pick who the hell you want without anybody telling you what to do? Give me a yes or no. How many of you, if you were the owner of the damn Brooklyn Nets, how many of you would want some old broke ass, weak ass people coming up telling you that you can't pick who you want to pick to run the damn team? Seriously, when I pick babysitters for my kids, you're not going to tell me like, well, boys, you shouldn't have picked your cousin. There's a more qualified babysitter down the street who had a better resume. I don't give a shit. I'm going to pick who I want to pick. I'm going to pick. It's my team. These are my kids. Like, I picked the babysitter that's going to babysit in my house, not you. You have no say in here. Get your own house. Get your own family. Then you can make your own decision. So I think that y'all need to get it straight, man, because some of this liberal thinking has twisted your brains. It's twisted your minds. Like, I'm going to tell you, this whole idea of equality in an institution owned and run by other people is a complete myth. That is not ever going to occur. There will always be privilege that belongs to the people who formed the foundation, who made the investment, who own the property, who own the landscape within which you operate. Where at what point do we not understand that? Who brainwashed us in school to believe that we should fall so madly in love with white supremacist institutions that we never give up on them, that we are sitting in this abusive relationship where we are getting peed on every other day like R. Kelly, and we still won't give up hope. We still believe somehow in this illusion of equality, this illusion of complete inclusion. No, right now you are the laborer class. And until you start your own league, that's what you're going to be. So if you want to know why I'm really excited, I'm glad Ice Cube's coming on onto drboystv.com today. He'll be on about 3:15 if you want to watch it live, or you can watch the recording. It's totally up to you. I like it because I understand him and he understands me. I get it. Okay, you wanted movies made, so you made a movie. You made a movie called Friday. You didn't wait. You sure, you were an actor. You were in Boys in the Hood, but then you said, wait a minute, I can get all the dough if I go and make my own movie. Oh, and then you were in NWA. You were in a group that was run by Jerry Heller, a man from the Jewish community. And you said, wait a minute. Actually, he said in the song, I dropped 4 niggas, now I'm making all the dough, right? So you realize that by being the boss, you actually can do more of what you want to do. Good for you. Okay, wait, so you wanted to see something manifest itself in the world of sports where black men were in control of the process. So you go and you started a sports league that's on TV now. It may not, I don't even know if it's profitable or not. I don't give a shit. I don't care if it's profitable. You know how many years the NFL struggled financially before they started making all that money? Like, it doesn't matter. You own that. Good for you. We speak the same language. We understand each other on that particular space. So I would just tell you, I don't know where people's mindsets are. Most of you that are in here already get some of this. I just want to encourage you to continue down that pathway. And for these NBA guys running around screaming about white privilege, what do you expect? The privilege will belong to whoever runs the show. Never, ever let anybody talk you out of that. Never let anybody convince you that something else is true. I don't care how they could paint Black Lives Matter on every goddamn basketball court in the entire NBA. They could put they could literally get a face tattoo that says Black Lives Matter. But guess what? All those folks screaming Black Lives Matter ain't talking about black ownership and black coaches and real black power. Those same people screaming Black Lives Matter ain't never they won't even, a lot of these politicians won't even say the word reparations. Right? So they're like, well, we can feed you by basically giving you your self-esteem or letting you know that you're acknowledged by your gods, that the white man is your god. If we can make you feel better by acknowledging you and pumping your ass up full of accolades and wonderful superlatives, then we're gonna do that. You know why they do that? You know why they give you all that talk? Because talk is cheap. Talk is cheap. They're going to feed you with the cheapest food they can possibly find. Talk is free. Talk don't cost nothing. You're supposed to be eating caviar and steak dinners and healthy food, and they are feeding you leftover Popeye's chicken that they pulled out the goddamn garbage can. They're feeding you garbage. They're feeding you bowls of chitlins and you slopping them up because you just happy that they giving you anything. Oh, they said Black Lives Matter. Oh, that must mean Black Lives Matter now. Because I used to think that it didn't matter, but now that he says it matters, then I believe that it matters. I don't care if you say Black Lives Matter. I knew that 20, 30, 40 years ago. I already knew Black Lives Matter. You just catching up. I appreciate the fact that you're acknowledging that, but I don't even care. It does not matter. I don't need you to explain to me why Black Lives Matter. What the hell's wrong with you? Cut the damn check. Cut the check. Cut the check. Stop it. Stop telling me Black Lives Matter. Stop with the ceremony. Stop with the symbolism. Cut the damn check. Let's put together a $10 billion fund that we can invest in urban communities all across this country to help the 83% Black teen unemployment rate where all these brothers are getting shot up in the street because they ain't got shit to do. Let's get a $10 billion fund from all these corporate sponsors. I don't need you to tell me that Black Lives Matter because I already knew that. Why are you so excited that finally your boss, your master, your God is acknowledging you? It's because you are a goddamn white supremacist. You can talk about white privilege, but you support it every step of the way. You can talk about white supremacy, but you are one of the biggest funders of white supremacy because white supremacy does not typically exist if Black people don't believe in it. If Black people stop believing in white supremacy, stop investing in white supremacy, stop supporting white supremacy, then white supremacy won't exist. Because whenever the Lakers are stepping on the court with another team, when the Lakers go to get on the court with the Golden State Warriors or the Portland Trail Blazers or whatever, I'm sure that the Portland Trail Blazers, when they came on the court with the LA Lakers, they believed that they were the superior team. They were big believers in Portland supremacy. Portland supremacy was very important to them. And if the Lakers were also invested in Portland supremacy, if the Lakers showed up believing in Portland supremacy, then guess who's going to win the game? Portland's going to win every time because they believe they're the better team and the Lakers believe they're the better team. The only reason the Lakers were able to defeat the Portland Trail Blazers, if I'm not mistaken, I ain't really been following the NBA like that. I ain't gonna lie to you, but if I'm not mistaken, the Lakers beat the Portland Trail Blazers. Well, how did the Lakers defeat the Portland Trail Blazers? Well, because I mean, it can't be possible because Portland believed in Portland supremacy. So if Portland believes in Portland supremacy, then how could the Lakers defeat them? Well, because the Lakers didn't buy into that. The Lakers said, no, we don't believe in Portland supremacy. In fact, we believe that we're superior. We're the superior team. So we're going to just play it out. And then we're going to show you that we're the superior team. So when white folks show up and they say, well, I'm a white supremacist. I believe in white supremacy. I believe that I'm better than you. See, a lot of y'all get triggered because you believe in white supremacy too. You're like a crackhead trying to get off the crack. So your drug addiction is you're addicted to white supremacy. You're addicted to this idea that they're better than you. And so because you're a crackhead when it comes to white supremacy, when a white man shows up and says he's a white supremacist, you get triggered. You start freaking out like, oh no, you didn't say that. No, you didn't. You white supremacist. What's wrong with you? Right? But Black people who are truly intelligent, whose self-esteem is intact, who know who the hell they are, they're not triggered by white supremacists. They're not. A white guy shows up and says, well, I believe that I'm better than you. There are Black people I know who are like, well, I'm glad you believe that because I believe I'm better than you. So what's now what? Now let the games begin. Let's see who wins. Let's see whose children do better on the math test. Let's see whose families can work harder to start the best business. Let's see who can be the most successful right now. We're going to play it out. I'm the Lakers, you're the Trailblazers, and I'm going to whoop your ass so many times that eventually you'll understand that no matter how much you believe that you're superior to me, the evidence will prove differently. So rather than spending your time pledging allegiance to white supremacy, getting triggered by white supremacy, and overreacting to white supremacy, how about you just show them what you got? How about you just step on the court like LeBron James and you dunk on those motherfuckers to the point where they eventually realize, maybe I'm not as great as I thought I was. Maybe the Trailblazers really aren't going to be the dominant team in this series. That's what you do. You show them how great you are. You don't run around getting triggered every time they tell you that they're a little bit better than you or they try to intimidate you. Stop pledging allegiance to white supremacy. Stop committing yourself to white privilege. Stop buying into white supremacist organizations. And then at some point, you'll actually have some privilege and power yourself. That's all I got to say. I'm done. Thank you guys for listening. I appreciate it. As I mentioned, later on today, Ice Cube will be on, I think, about 3:15 Eastern. So if you want to watch live, you can go to drboystv.com. That's drboystv.com. And also, if you want to learn more about investing and stuff like that, I'm a big believer in investing. So if you haven't done this yet, my goal is to get everybody that's on my platform invested in the stock market, because I can tell you from the research, the higher your stock market participation rate is, the higher your community wealth will be. So if you haven't learned to buy your first share of stock yet, or you just want to get free information from the Black Business School, go to firstshareofstock.com. That's firstshareofstock.com. Thank you guys for listening. Please hit that thumbs up button on your way out. I'm out of here. Have a good day, and I'll see you soon. Take care. Peace.
Here we are, clan the isms, cataclysm great. Our people out here struggling, trying to make it in this state. Everybody out here doing it, but we the ones who late. Now family, we the ones who gotta delegate. Get that money in the power, never be fake. Stick to cosign for 3. What did he say? Create jobs, support our own. Educate the same and buy back your home. Got 3 degrees, triple 10. 3 PhDs, now we on the CNN. DBTV, let's talk about negligence. Ignorance is bliss, but we can turn it to intelligence. Believe none of what you hear, half of what you see. Let's break it down.